REI Co-op knows when you're up at 4:30 a.m. on a Saturday for a long run and you're actually excited, not everyone gets it, but we do. At REI, we're here for people who get outside. Gear up for your next run in-store or at rei.com.
Experience a membership that backs your business journey with American Express Business Platinum. Earn 5 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Plus, enjoy a welcome offer of 200,000 points after you spend $20,000 on purchases on the card within your first 3 months of membership. American Express Business Platinum. There's nothing like it. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum.
Dr. Raj.
Dr. Raj. Dr. Raj Dasgupta.
The most interesting pulmonologist in the world.
Welcome to the Dr. Raj Podcast, a show all about empowering knowledge, addressing difficult topics, raising awareness, and being positive. Dr. Raj is a quadruple board-certified physician, associate professor of clinical medicine, and the associate program director of internal medicine residency. He was a co-host on the TNT series Chasing the Cure with Ann Curry, as well as a regular on the TV show The Doctors. And now, here's our show.
Hi, and welcome to the Dr. Raj Podcast. I'm your guest host, Becca Spahr, a speaker and relational health expert who empowers people to build meaningful connections that enrich their lives. A few months ago, I was in a coffee shop reading when a stranger asked about the book I was reading. And instead of just brushing it off with polite small talk and moving on, I practiced what I preach, and I allowed myself to be open to connection. I'm really glad that I did, because that conversation was a great one. It revealed some shared passions, a lot of professional alignment, and a willingness to build each other up in our professional lives. And now that chance encounter has come full circle, because the stranger from the coffee shop is our guest on the show today. Mr. Juelz Davenport is an author, a poet, and an inspirational speaker who helps audiences discover the power of self-expression through poetry and writing. Mr. Davenport, welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me, Ms. Spahr.
One of the first things I noticed about you when we first met was how passionate you are about the work that you do. Can you tell me about how writing became your passion?
Sure. That's a good question. I think writing became a passion for me when I had to use it as communication. When I was younger, I grew up without a father, so he was incarcerated, and our only form of communication was collect calls and eventually pen paling. Well, I call pen paling, but, we would communicate via letter. And that's how, writing became my passion.
That's really unique, especially in today's world, because I feel like so few people write letters anymore. Maybe an email, but so much of our communication is just a quick, a text or a quick phone call or something. And so we're not as mindful about the words that we're using and putting pen to paper. How did you find that made you a better communicator?
Well, I would say that just going through the process of communicating through letters, you have to really think about what you're going to say. Mm-hmm. So process, then like you said, just sending out something quick just as a response. And in this particular case, there's so much emotions involved. Mm-hmm. So it's happiness, sadness, and it's all felt through words. And, I became more comfortable as time would go on, communicating this way. And even today, I incorporate it into my workshops. So, I guess, writing is just a natural part of my life. Mm-hmm. I was 7 years old when I first met my dad. So following that visit, we would begin the writing process. Mm-hmm.
So you were writing to communicate with him,
yeah,
and he back to you. Did you at some point, I guess, did you get to a point with your writing that you were writing for yourself?
Can you clarify?
Well, I think that a lot of times I see with writers that they use it as a form of self-expression, but without an intention to actually share it with anyone. Some will be shared for sure, but some people just write, like journaling, for example, would be kind of writing for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a way that you have you ever used that as a way to like get to know yourself better or discover your own voice?
Sure, journaling. I used to write raps. I slowed it down and it eventually turned to poetry. So I guess growing up in my era, rap was really popular. It was like the golden era, I would say. Um, and so we all aspired to chase that passion, but I had no idea that poetry would be, something that would be a major part of my life. But
Mhm.
uh, through the process of living and trying to find out who I am, I always end up back at that spot writing. So,
Oh yeah, I like how you brought up the raps because I can remember like back in the day when we still had CDs and you would get like the little booklet in the CD that would have the lyrics. I
yeah,
would read it and think to myself like this is actually it's a poem. It's written down. It looks like a poem, but then
mhm,
it's set to music so it becomes a song.
yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of artistry and talent that goes into being able to do that. That's pretty cool. So you have written several books. You've published several books. Can you
yeah,
tell me about those?
yeah. The first book um, that introduced me to the writing world was In My Eyes, Urban Poetry, which is a series. It's set to be a 3-book series. We're on the second. I followed that up with In My Eyes 1, In My Eyes 2. Then I followed it up with my children's book, In My Little Eyes, which In My Eyes 1 through 3 would be the series along with the children's version,
Hmm.
picture and poetry book. And then I tried to not get away from the In My Eyes because I felt like it was becoming so much like the only thing that people knew me for. And I wanted to like challenge myself. So I wrote Penned in Pennsylvania. Of course, I'm from Pennsylvania. I love Pennsylvania, the good, the bad, the ugly. So I put it all into poetry and I came up with Penned in Pennsylvania, which I would say is a lot different than the In My Eyes series that I was known for, but it has similarities. And then my most exciting project, I had to challenge myself even more, was to write my first novel, which is Who is Sean? So I'm super excited about getting around with. So
That's awesome. Congratulations. I really look up to people who can not only have, the idea and the talent to write, but to actually get it all out and then make it come to fruition as an actual book that you're holding in your hand. That's really exciting.
sure. Yeah, it is. I love to see. I like when I reflect on the process. I love that, and I love seeing other people hearing their ideas and then seeing it come out. Just same way.
And now you help young people to write, to discover their stories and turn it into something that can be read and shared. Can you tell me about the work that you do with young writers and teaching creative writing?
Through my own experiences and journey with words, I was able to build like my own routines, my own systems, and it's really helped me grow as a person, as a man. I always say to myself, I really didn't start living intentionally until I started writing. Started putting my writing out there and seeing how important it was. And through that journey, I noticed it could help others. So I was introduced to a classroom one summer at Marshall Elementary, and I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea this would be what I would be doing. But I shared my poetry, and I just saw the light in the kids' eyes. We have similar backgrounds. Some of us, just like a connection there that was undeniable. And ever since then, I turned that into several creative writing workshops. for all ages. I use each one of my books as the inspirational motivation and entertainment for each workshop. Um, Not only do we read, write poetry, but I teach them how to perform it, how to just be confident and just presenting, because communication is just so huge if you want to be successful. Like you said, when we met, we both had that option of choosing the little short.
Mm-hmm.
But we actually had a real fruitful conversation, and through that conversation, obviously, it led us here. And it's even had your daughter in one of my classes, correct?
That's right. Yeah, my 12-year-old went through one of your workshops, and she was really inspired by it. I think that you had an approach that was really unique because rather than like when they learn writing in school, it's very like, this sounds like a cliche, but it's like very by the book. It's like here's like the formula for how you write,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't necessarily, I mean, it depends on the teacher a lot, I think, but it doesn't necessarily tap into what really like drives them, what they're interested in, what they're passionate about, because it's like, well, here's your topic, or write an essay about this.
Yeah.
And rather than letting them go through that period of self-discovery of like, what is the story I want to tell? What is the story that I have that I feel like is important for others to hear? And so there's a lot more of like the like inspirational side of it, I think, when you teach, but you would be better to explain that. Can you explain how you tap into that with young people?
I really don't know. I think through trial and error and just like having a real passion for trying to see it through their eyes as well as, as mine. My whole thing is, as adults, we all got a chance to pursue or to live our story, live our truth, and it's the next generation's time. So I like to really, when I get them in a room, I like to create the environment that is easy for them to just come in. When you're that young, you got lots of anxiety, you got lots of questions, you're worried a little bit. When I bring uh, students from different walks of life and they're all together in one room, they don't know each other. So it's like, but we have that one connection, that bond, which is writing. So I just really focus on the 90 minutes I usually have with them. And I just like want to listen, like a therapist, kind of like listen, but also interject. But mainly I love like setting the tone for them to teach each other, to be honest with you, because the energy when kids come together, the students come together, they, no matter how different they are, different ages, different backgrounds, they all figure out how to work together. And I think that's the most beautiful part of what I do, is being able to witness that in real time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can only imagine. It's so cool to watch kids who like have not, there's an innocence to them and they haven't been through the experiences that adults have. And so they don't have like as many of the preformed judgments, or they're just more like open, I feel like, and willing to like help each other out and listen. And I mean, it's different, kid by kid and background by background, I guess, but it's really powerful. And I'm so glad that like you've identified that and are tapping into that as a way that they can help each other, because not only does it make them better writers because you're getting different perspectives and different feedback, but it just kind of makes them better people too, to be able to interact with each other in that way.
Sure. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask if you had any like examples of like some good like interactions that you've seen where students seem like they were really drawing the best out of each other.
I mean, most workshops end up that way. I think when I take them through like a routine, or it's my routine really. It's like how I write, how I've been writing, since I started putting this thing together. It's like I go through, I try to search for some inspiration, whether I be reading. Usually it's through different quotes from people that I feel like are great, and that so much. I go through that process and then we journal together. But when we do the quotes, it's really for open discussion, that part. And it's just to get our mind going, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we move into the journaling, which is, I usually pose a few different questions for them. And I always tell them, I always reassure them, this is not for sharing. This is really just for you. I'll never know what's in that book,
Mm-hmm.
And that's important. I feel like that's really important because a lot of time when we have programming and things like that, it's like, it could feel pushy on a kid where it's like, you want a result, but they're really there to learn. So I always mind, I'm like, listen, I'll let you know when the pressure's on, when it's time to present. But as far as like journaling, we just keep that sort. So we don't even talk about it. I pose the questions, we get through that, then we get into our core writing. And sometimes we work individually, but we end up always collaborating, whether it's pair or group work. And through that process right there, they take over.
It sounds like you create a really good space for the kids to feel like they're free to say, what they want to say. They're free to write what they want to write, which really, lays that foundation for becoming a writer who can express themselves fully. So, through that, you're helping them discover their voices and not be, afraid to share their stories, I guess. Yeah, which I would think, it's a basic human need to feel safe, and so getting that from you is a good way to get people to come back to your workshops over and over again, I think.
Well, I would say it seems simple, but like creating that atmosphere and I don't know, making sure things are set in such a way that the kids aren't worried. They're just there to write. I think there's like a real science that goes into it. It's simple, but it's complicated at the same time. But I think it's always necessary. I will never just have the kids come in and throw some loose paper at them and a pen and be like, no, this is serious. This is real business. This writing has changed my entire life. So to approach it like it's not important or it's not life changing or to look at it like it's just a hobby. Just a lot of the kids I run into are writing novels. They're writing poetry books and novels. I have students that write 1,000 words a day. They make me step my game up. See, this is where I'm teaching. I'm giving inspiration that's giving back to me, and I think that's important because a lot of times I've accomplished a lot, but that doesn't make me a better or this big guy over top. I'm learning from them as well.
Yeah.
And I think every workshop I've been to, I've been able to adjust it to different groups and backgrounds based off each group, each individual student. They all bring something to the table that's so useful. And I hope that I always leave that as well.
Gosh, that's a breath of fresh air to hear that level of humility from someone as accomplished as you, to always have that mindset that like you're still learning. You're learning from them just as much as they're learning from you. And that's something that people really respond to, because when they feel seen and heard and respected, I mean, that's setting them up for success, because then they're going to want to keep going and keep trying and do better. And yeah, I mean, I can definitely understand why your workshops are so popular, because if that's what these kids are getting, like,
it's a place to be able to speak, be able to build on their voice and build on their ideas. It's not just about sharing in my eyes. It's more or less about using that as a starting point to like, I'm just like you, and we have a lot in common, and we got a lot to learn together. Like I said, each group, I learned something new. There's a lot of great writers out here. It's not a lot of places for them to just be able to come and write. So I don't like to pressure them ever. If you ask any student I've worked with, I've never pressured them. I've had students tell me so many times, "Oh, I'm scared. I'm not gonna." And then after we go through our process, they're in front of the class reading. They got, all this enthusiasm. And it's because we go through this process together. And I think that's the key is just like sports, just like anything that you do at work, building a business, it's all about collaboration. It's all about, and even if we shine individually, when we work and go through the ugly process together, you know what I mean? It builds something unique. And I always have that connection no matter what.
Yeah, it's that sense of like we're all in this together, that sense of belonging, which is really hard to create in teams. But you're doing a good job of it. Tell me about like what are some of do you see any themes about like the things that a lot of students want to write about?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of this would vary, but most teens they just want to like you said, they want to feel heard. They want to feel. So they talk about how they're seeing the world these days. I really like push that, but that's one they always gravitate to because I could talk about like the streets, but not every kid I talk to is from the streets. But when we talk about love, pain, emotion, about arguments with our friends, just through these basic conversations, we come up with things for our poetry. You know what I mean? And that's how we keep it where we can all relate. You know what I mean? So I would say that they would gravitate more toward just putting out how they see life at that time. It's usually about their parents, their relationship with their parents, or it's usually about a friend or somebody that they're in love with. Some of my students write about their hobbies like horseback riding, things like that. Like I got a student named Bria. She was actually featured and interviewed in one of my articles with Lancaster Online. And I think she mentioned, how going through the workshops really helped her. And then when I think about her, I always think, every time I see horses, I think about her because she's like a horseback rider. She still does it to this day. She's graduated now. One of my students from Hershey Middle. But just seeing the growth from watching them go through the process and then seeing them live life, a lot of them are online, so I'm able to still see their growth. So
yeah, that's so fulfilling to feel like you had a hand in their education and the way that they are becoming a person, their own person, and seeing the good things they're doing.
I feel like that's our job is to do that.
Absolutely, yeah. As educators, as parents, as interested adults, just in a young person's life, I agree with that 100%. And speaking of those parents and teachers and other people who are interested, how can they support these young people on their journey through like learning how to write, learning how to express themselves through writing?
I would say, signing them up or paying attention to what's going on in the community. Like we always have programs running. Well, we don't always have them, but you got to keep your eye out for them. But when there's a writing program, when there's just like they always have different programs at the library that have to do with writing. Anything that has to do with writing, just like you would have a kid that is into sports basketball, you would be paying attention to different things like that. We got to start looking at writing the same way. We cater to our body, but our minds are more important. We can't really do much without them. We need more thinkers, need more critical thinkers, people that have their own voice, young people that have their own voice and have ideas. And we need, whether it's poetry, whether it's journaling, whether it's whatever they choose to pursue, them knowing that they have their own unique voice is what changes the world, not them sounding like Juelz or like Becca or like anybody else but them. And we have to always reassure them, listen, your ideas matter, your opinions matter, how you see the world, the script that you're writing for yourself, you know what I mean? The script the world gave you, you know what I mean? You gotta always just incorporate writing into their life, in my opinion. And for example, and this isn't writing, but my son's an artist. He's 9. He's been an artist since I can remember. And one of the things that I do is I constantly, if we look back on my wall, it's all of his art. I'm constantly watching drawing videos with him, having him make his own drawing videos, just always investing in their craft. You know what I mean? lot of writers are real, it's like a solitude thing. They're not like, hey, I'm a writer, look at me. So you really gotta, if you know that your kid's a writer, just constantly get them journals. You know what I mean? You can never have enough. Pens, different things like that. I think just encouraging that craft, it'll grow. And knowing more importantly, knowing they have your support without you, oh, what are you writing? Like, what did you write? You don't have to do any of that. I can give you an example. So I have a kid. I don't want to put anybody's name because they're underage, but his mom is really cool. She's a teacher as well. And she signed him up for the written proof programs. And she told me, she said, my son, he doesn't really, he don't like to share or anything like that. So I'm like, cool, just put him in the class anyway. So he goes through the whole process. One of my best students too for this program. And, we shared some conversations. He's like, yes, he really opened up, he's really been sharing his poetry with me. It's been real helpful. So I'm like, that's dope, because that's not something that I can see. I could just teach the class and then that's it. But knowing that he's leaning into his writing, I think that's important.
It is, and it I feel like for the right student, it can really light them up and get them more interested in like doing well in school, so that they can continue to become even better writers. Because to be a good writer, like, it's helpful to also be a reader, and then depending on what you're writing about, maybe sometimes you have to do some research behind it. So you're tapping into all those different aspects of your education. What do you think about, like, the future of creative expression and literacy writing within education, the education system as it is now? What does that look like to you as we move forward?
Well, no, a lot of things are moving toward online, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of pick your teacher these days. You can still go through, traditional school, but you can educate yourself more. So I think in the future of education, a lot of students, because I don't see a lot of programs or things that are always catering to writers. So it's like I feel like they're going to start seeking outside of school. Like you mentioned earlier, it's like kind of like basic writing here. This is the topic, write about that. But a lot of I think the students I deal with, which is the future, I just think that, they're going to start educating themselves and using different avenues to do it and not wait, which is important because nowadays we're living in a world where a 12-year-old could create a book and
Mm-hmm.
bestseller. So it's like, what are we waiting for? You know what I mean? I think the future looks like getting with the experts and not, I guess, always just the big names, but like people that put the work in. Because I think that's always the most important, is to work with somebody that put the work in, and you can learn so much from that. So I think that that's where we're headed. So on top of the way it's been going, but I really can't say how that'll go. But I could say for those motivated and dedicated writers, they're going to find a way and maybe become the new teachers. So I think the secret's really in them, not what's going on now. Is like what they choose to do with writing in the future. Then we can determine how it'll start looking for the future of writers. So
What you just said about the kids who are in school now, who are developing these skills, those are the future educators. Yeah. So giving them these tools that are a little bit, it's your workshops you're beyond that, like what they learn in school just from the book. You're teaching them to think in a more open way, where they're really getting to know themselves and think about what inspires them and what they want to write about versus what they have to write about.
So I feel like what makes my style and my programming special is what they do learn in school as well. So I feel like a combination of both is really helpful. And the school tells you one way, I'm showing you this way. And that the students that I come into contact with, they know I've been pursuing this passion. So it's like I have experience, but these are also teachers too. So it's like, in a way, it's like a combination of the both is a good, how could I put it? it's a good contribution to their journey with words. So
yeah,
having,
just giving them like a few different ways to learn, because we all learn differently. So, what works for one student might not totally click with a different student. So giving them a few different, ways to do it, it's brilliant. And I think you're gonna, you are reaching so many more young people who might otherwise not really learn how to express themselves through writing.
I think eventually, uh, I agree with that, and I think eventually it's really not all about numbers. Like a lot of people think it's about talking to so many students, but I think the most success I've had is being able to zero in and cater to each student. You know what I mean? So small groups as well as big groups, and more importantly, um, finding that writer that's like, this is really their life. Because some people, like, when I talk about writing, this is really my life. I wasn't never expecting any of this. It happened. Like I told you, when I was 7, I met my father. Um, Writing became part of my life. It was the way I could talk. And at that time period, you're young, you're emotional, you're impressionable. That's your dad. No matter, how the world sees him, that's your dad. So that communication was crucial. I mean, the presence is always more impactful, but the letters held us. It held a young boy, and that communication turned into my own therapy when I was locked up. When I was 19 in the same jail I met my dad at. And I used poetry and rap to get through those times, and it produced something in my mind. It was like it allowed me for once in my life to look at my life, and we're I was only 19. I'm like, but what I had been through, and then I started to notice different things, and I was becoming a writer. And then you fast forward, you go through more of the street stuff. I almost lost my life out here. I was almost could have went to jail 25 years, but I became a writer. One day I sat on my steps and I came up with In My Eyes. The whole idea stemmed from when I got out of jail. My mom had found my poetry and my raps, and my mom's a Christian, and she leans on that real heavy. So she was like, because of that, and because of what I was talking about, the language and my truth, she ripped it up, threw it away. She didn't understand, which it's cool now. But so if you fast forward, I'm teaching, I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm an author now, and I took those ripped up poems and that story, that script I was given, that I was living, and and ripped it. I made my own script with In My Eyes, and I started living there because I started learning myself. And fast forward, my mom ends up at one of the written proof sessions. I think your daughter was there that day, and she's seen what that story meant to me and what it's grown to be. Because when we're writing and we're in our dark corner and we're journaling, we don't look at it like, oh, I'm going to be the biggest writer one day. You're just getting the raw emotions out. It's like, without the pressure, there's no diamond. So a lot of students I work with, I believe, they just want to write their pain. They want to share it, but not to everybody, but where, like you said, where they feel comfortable at. And my sessions, my workshops are that place for them. So I hope to keep on using my story to inspire more writers to tell their story, to inspire others. Not just business, but just like writing can change your life. You know?
Yeah, I feel like you have landed just in exactly the right spot to use your story to help other people overcome, adversity and difficult backgrounds, and, use it in a positive way to process that and then get to the other side. So many kids are just so fortunate to have been, have you in their life, to be a person who's interested and is willing to listen and willing to help them develop that skill and see where it takes them, because it's taken you. I mean, it has completely changed your life, it sounds like. So that's really inspirational.
I would like to add to that, and thank you. Writing This journey with words it's still developing me as a person, as a man, and seeing what my value is, and understanding that there's a responsibility also that comes with this. When I first started writing, I was really raw. I was from the street. I'm from the street, but I'm talking about my mindset was still there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like through this process up to date, it's been a development, as a person, as a man, and I can only thank writing for that, and my willingness to keep on pursuing it. So it's like I don't know if each one of my students will be an author or a keynote speaker or anything like that. That's really not my aim. My aim is, that I would love to help them build that, but my aim is for them to feel centered, to understand you don't have to hold on to baggage. You write about it and you journal and move on. It happened. It's not who you are. It just happened. You can how to move on. The world's not always pleasant to us, but you make sure you have some grace on yourself when you're writing in that journal. That's what it's for, to leave yesterday and turn a page. And that's what we do. And it takes more than 6 sessions or a one-time visit, but I like to make every second, every moment count. And I'm very intentional about it. And I'm just blessed to be able to be here to do this.
And you're touching a lot of lives, impacting a lot of lives. I hope that some of our listeners who have found this interesting and inspiring, maybe people who write themselves or know someone who might benefit from developing their writing skills as a way to get to know themselves better and just enrich their lives. I hope that they'll share it. And if you could just tell me really quick, if people are interested in learning more, where would they go to find out more about what you do?
If you want to know more about the most influential poet in the world, at www.iamjuelz, that's JUELZ.com, iamjuelz.com. You could Google Julian Davenport, and most of my stuff will pop right up. You can check me out on Amazon. I got my books on Amazon. You can check me out on YouTube. Just put my name in, Juelz Davenport. That's JUELZ Davenport, Davenport. IME Vision is the name of my company. I stands for inspiration. M stands for motivation. E is interchangeable for entertainment and education. Vision, because I have a huge vision and I want to share it with you. So if you want to find me, you come to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and you just ask about who's the most influential poet in the world, and I'll point you right in my direction.
All right. Great. I'll make sure all of that is in our show notes so that our listeners can take a look at your website and look at some of the work that you've done. Thank you so much, Mr. Davenport, for sharing some of your time with me and with our listeners today. I know I'm walking away feeling a little lighter and like maybe I should get out my old journal and do a little bit of writing myself. So thank you again. Thank you.
I appreciate you, Becca.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Dr. Raj Podcast. If you enjoy the show, then please make sure to follow us on your favorite podcast app and leave a rating while you're there. This show is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. This has been a production of MedPrep to Go, and you can learn more at medprep2go.com.
This message is sponsored by Greenlight. With school out, summer is the perfect time to teach our kids real-world money skills they'll use forever. Greenlight is a debit card and the #1 family finance and safety app used by millions of families, helping kids learn how to save, invest, and spend wisely. Parents can send their kids money and track their spending and saving, while kids build money confidence and skills in fun ways. Start your risk-free Greenlight trial today at greenlight.com/Spotify. That's greenlight.com/Spotify.